another Sunday, another case of the Scaries to start your work week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries, where we have all your gore, lore, and more, covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour that cup of coffee and turn on your fright lights while we take you on a tour of terror. And Dylan, we are running our marathon ending last week and kind of pulling into this coming week. I tell you, we are on E, but we were expecting this.
Yes, this has been a tough week, man. Like, we've had a lot going on. Like, I mean, content wise, it's been fun. Like, I mean, we saw some good movies. But like, yeah, we had to watch Terrifier 2 in theaters, which we drove about 40 minutes or so away from our homestead. I think about 30 for you, 40 for me, to go see that. Then we drove home to immediately shoot a review. As soon as that was done, we hopped on and watched Hellraiser. So Friday night, we didn't go to bed till like 4. And your crazy ass went to work like
yes, I did.
an hour and a half later. So like, yeah, that was tough. And then we recorded the latest episode of Splattercast yesterday, which is that's a beefy episode. That's the longest episode we've ever done by a minute. So prepare yourselves for that one. That's coming to you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, good old double feature.
Yes. So it's been a crazy couple of days. We just posted our Halloween 2 review yesterday, which we also recorded and shot right then and there. So, I mean, like, we have just been slammed with content, and there's still so much more to be getting out. There's still things I have to edit for this upcoming week. There's still things that, I'm still processing. So it's like, it's not going to stop. At least once we get through this next week, things will slow down a little bit. Like, we'll still have content releasing, of course, but the new releases and things will start to slow down a little bit, because once you're doing the stuff for Splatterthon on top of the new releases, that's when things get dicey.
It gets a little wild. And just to kind of go over a little thrill ride here. I mean, like, if you've been watching the channel, you know, but me and Dylan were both introduced to Terrifier this week, officially. And then we started the new season of Chucky. And Dylan just recently finished the first season of Chucky. Yep. And then Terrifier 2, Hellraiser, and then a bunch of new content that's been flooded over streaming. The one that we will talk about at the tail end of the Sunday Scaries this week. So we've just been, we decided to kickstart this podcast during probably the busiest year in horror, especially October here. I mean, this is a busy, busy month. But man, what a ride it's been already. And we're only, just over a week into the month of October. So we've got a long ways to go, ending the marathon for this week, but starting another marathon, I am sure, here this coming week.
This one shouldn't be as bad, because we only have to see one movie in theaters, and then we can come home and just focus all of our effort and time on that. We don't have to go do back-to-back stuff. Like, even for the Hellraiser spoiler review, like, we want to do it. We just haven't had time to watch the movie again. So,
it's like, that first one we were totally beat. So
yeah, that will probably come to you guys later this month. I would say we could probably fit that in somewhere, because I do want to talk about it more in depth.
I really want to dissect it a little more, because I mean, that kind of that process was, let's just get through it and get our thoughts out there initially. But it is something where, I mean, it's a 2-hour long film, so there's a lot to unpack already. So just trying to sit down and dissect it a little bit and kind of get the maybe some references that we had missed over and things like that. I'm very interested to kind of give that one a second watch.
Yeah, me too. I'll probably give that one a watch later today. Just because, like, I think we're starting to kind of free up a little bit. Spent a good portion of time last night just editing and trying to get myself a little bit more ahead. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But this has definitely been I think the busiest week on the channel thus far. So, it's been a lot of overlap, but it's been fun. It's been good. And the videos are performing well. So you guys are obviously enjoying the content. So I
And
can't
we
complain.
appreciate it. Lots more to come.
Absolutely.
But we're
Mhm.
kind of reaching the end cap here with the Sunday Scaries of this week to start that new week just coming up. And we do have Halloween ends. So this is kind of another big tentpole week for us. One that we've been waiting for to kind of see this end of a story arc from
Mhm.
2018. So this will be a very big week as well. A lot of content we're going to get out of just that one movie because, I mean, it's a big one.
Yeah, and I've been really anticipating this. I know both of us have tampered expectations. So it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of understand that I'm probably not going to love it, but I'm still just getting just as excited. I mean, like Terrifier 2 was a nice surprise with how much I enjoyed that one, I think for
Yeah.
both of us. Hellraiser was definitely great. I enjoyed what I saw from it again. Need to watch it again just to kind of really soak it up without the pressure and the tiredness and everything. And then just this though, I would be lying if I didn't say that I was just over the moon excited, waiting for Thursday at 5 because that's when we're gonna check it out. So
Which I love that it's an early showing there where it's like we can just go drink it in and then go kind of reflect a second probably before we just jump on and
I mean, Terrifier wouldn't have been that bad. It started at 8, but the movie's 2.5 hours
yeah.
almost. So it's kind of like, damn, dude. Like
If
once
that thing
you're
would have
out
been
of
an
it, it's
hour
like
or 30, it would
shit.
have been a breeze.
Yeah, and then we had that drive on top of it, so it's kind of like we lost a lot of time there. So it's like I think if this would have been at like one of our local theaters, I mean,
If it
and it
was down the
was,
street, it would have been way
if it
easier,
was
but
if it was just straight 2 hours, yeah, we would have been, back here. We would have had everything shot before Hellraiser even dropped. So it's just like,
got a little nap in maybe.
maybe. But yeah, no, that's yeah, I'm definitely I'm here for it. I'll be watching Halloween movies all week long. So
Yep, we're getting into it. We just dropped what do we have the Halloween 2
mhm.
discussion up to, which was pretty interesting. So it's always great to revisit that one. I did revisit that one this week, which was always nice because it's like we're flooded with such new content. It's so nice to go back to some of the old faves when you have the time to, when you have the excuse to actually go back and give it your full attention, which you can't. You never have to twist my arm to watch Halloween 2.
Oh, absolutely not. And just so like everybody's aware too, because we have been doing them uh, basically piece by piece through this month. We did 78 last week and 2 this week. Next week, we won't be talking about 3. We'll be talking about Halloween Ends. So there will either be, depending on how I want to stack it, we'll be either doing a full-blown just free discussion video, which will kind of be like a spoiler review, but I kind of just want to get our thoughts out there, and it'll be a little closer to kind of the format that we've been doing with these Halloween videos. And then the following week we will pick up with Halloween 3 because it is his 40th anniversary. So that's some good stuff. So we will pick back up there. So just so you guys are aware.
Always great stuff. A lot of great twists and turns in those films, and of course, a lot of great kills.
Mhm.
Which kind of brings us to our very first topic of the Sunday Scaries, the kill of the week.
Absolutely.
Yes,
So
yes,
this was my pick actually.
yes, it was.
So yeah, I normally kind of let Luke lead on this because again, I've said it 100 times. This is his baby as far as things go. I kind of let him select the content and everything. Like I say, like I let you, but like it's his half of the I guess the burden to bear. And I usually handle a lot of the reviews and stuff like that. So with this though, I had a very specific kill in mind. Actually, for one of your favorites in this series. But of course, as if you haven't kind of picked up on our pattern, when we have a new release coming out, we tend to like to go with a theme. So this is coming from Halloween.
Yes.
You like that? That was a good little rhyme.
Look at you.
I know. I'm
You're
getting
gonna
there.
start writing these now from now on. So
Oh, come on.
we're gonna transfer it over to you. But yes. So this one is from one of my personal favorites in the franchise, Halloween 4. Which Dylan, I don't know what made you want to pick this one. What stuck out? Did you just watch Halloween 4?
No, I saw Halloween 4. The last time I watched it was last Halloween.
Okay.
But I've seen Halloween 4 a ton. It was, again, one of those ones that was always on TV on the AMC Fear Fest and all that stuff every year. They played that a ton. They'd always do like 4 and 5 back to back all the time. I think just because, you have the Jamie Lloyd story in that
Yeah.
one. So, but for me, I mostly just wanted to pick this one because it's kind of unique. It's pretty simplistic, but at the same time, it's equal parts entertaining, goofy, and just an extremely unique kill in this franchise. I feel like because it's like we never see, and I don't want to give too much away about it before we really get into it because I know everybody's going to know as soon as it starts. But we never see Michael use this kind of a weapon before.
Yeah.
And the way he uses it is just perfect, in my opinion. It's so his MO.
And I like it because it is harkening back to the style of kill that he's done throughout probably the first two films in a sense, at least in some fashion. But now he's using something completely different to achieve this kind of thing. So it's fun to harken back, but with a new twist. Why don't we actually get into the kill itself?
Beautiful.
Yes, she's bringing in the coffee. Good old Kelly Meeker here, daughter of Sheriff Meeker. So, she is in for some trouble here.
Yeah, and Sheriff Meeker himself is a great character. I thought he was a great addition to the Halloween series. Definitely a good pickup from Brackett.
Yes.
Wish we would have seen him some more. Um, but yeah, for me, this is again, it's the fact that if you've seen the movie, you know what's coming. If not, this is kind of going to be a surprise for you. But the weapon choice here is kind of one of those things where once we start getting into it, you're going to kind of see where it's like, oh damn, is Michael about to do this for the first time? Absolutely not. No, he did. That would be too easy. As the Joker said in The Dark Knight, you don't get to savor the kill as much. But I also love that reveal. I think that
Yes.
that's a really smart scene. Um,
I
you
love him
know,
rocking in the chair too when you realize it's
oh
been Michael the whole time.
yeah, and I always say it. I love me a playful Michael, and look at that. I mean, he impales her with the shotgun. Like that is just so ridiculous, so just out there, so creative, so fun. Honestly, one of my favorite kills in the series, just because it really tampers your expectations. You're thinking, holy shit, he's about to shoot somebody for the first time, and no, he just jams it right into him. Could you
Yeah,
imagine getting impaled with a fucking shotgun?
my gosh, the power, the pure power that it takes, only Michael can do it. And like we've been, you just mentioned we've been talking about the Halloween films throughout the past couple weeks on the channel here, and it's we just had that discussion on Halloween 2 where it's still kind of it has its gory moments, but it still harkens back a lot to that original where it's kind of more grounded, and this one is kind of really where you're into the the kind of slasher genre where we're getting a little more outlandish. We're trying wild things to kind of keep the audience's attention. I mean, for me, do I love it? Absolutely. But it's, one of those things where who would have thought from what we had gotten in the original 1978 version that we would be here of him jamming a shotgun through her midsection and sticking her to the wall, So we really do kind of have this progression of getting crazier and crazier with these films, which I absolutely love.
Oh, I agree. But yeah, we'll kind of dive into the kill a little bit more specifically here. So yes, again, I enjoy this reveal. This is very classic horror.
You don't
Where
know where they're going at all, and then
yes,
right there's perfect.
yeah, where it's like use the candlelight. And I mean, this whole thing is creepy because like the power in the entire town is out at this point, so everybody's in darkness, and Yeah, you just really don't expect it. And again, this isn't a very gory kill. It could have been, but I mean, like, it's more playing it to the strengths of the first film where they didn't really rely on gore that much.
Yeah.
And they just kind of wanted to go, I guess, for that shock value again of just that misdirect. And it works for me through and through. I think it's, again, one of my favorite kills in the franchise just because, they zig when you think they're going to zag. And, it's just perfect. It's a lot of fun.
And it's one of those things where, growing up, I've had this in my rotation of I've had the luxury of, I can watch 1, 2, 3 if I feel like it, or go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. I could have put them all in the rotation whenever I wanted to. But going back to 1988, I believe, or 87, I can't remember which year this had come out at. But we've been years without Michael. We got Halloween 3, but he was not in it. So we hadn't seen Michael since 81. So I can imagine that audiences that have been living through the slasher genre, or just had a love for Halloween 1 and 2 and maybe even 3, were very eager to see Michael back and kind of see that format that they had in 1 and 2, where it's like, Michael going around just slashing people. So to kind of, I think you had to run out of the gate with like really wild stuff to be like, Michael sat on the sidelines for the majority of the 80s, when we had Freddie and Jason kind of just doing their own thing. We had a Friday 13th almost every year. Same thing with Nightmare at this point. So, Michael was sitting on the sidelines. So it's like, you got to come out guns blazing here, to show that Michael is back, so it's like, I can see why they had done things like this, because there are a few wild kills in Halloween 4, and it's, again, one of my favorites in the franchise. This is one of the kills that I always remember whenever I'm talking about this. For some reason, the deputy's head, right there, is always something that's ingrained in my memory when we're talking about it. Just as soon as she lights that candle, I think it's one of the most iconic scenes. I love the whole idea of him in that house. I love that the power goes out of the whole town. It just fits. It makes Halloween. And this was one of the films that was always on TV growing up. So this is one of my definitive Halloween films.
Yeah, and this came out in 88, so you're talking
88.
about a 7-year gap between the last time we saw Michael. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it is a fun return to form. I think that overall, I do enjoy this movie. I like the tones. I like some of the characters. Does it all work for me? No, but I think that, for what they were dealt with, the kind of stuff that the Akkads and everybody, all the producers, wanted out of this, where they wanted them to go back to the basics and bring back Michael. They kind of had to figure a way out to do it, and it works fine for me. It's a very fun time, and I enjoy watching it every so often.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a great tone to it. I do talk about it's got one of the best openings in terms of really setting that Halloween tone, and Haddonfield as a whole. I mean, we'll deep dive into Halloween 4 at some point without question, but I think like kills like this captures the tone of this film, where 1 and 2 I put on a different playing field than 4, where 4 is just a lot of good fun, gets you in the mood for Halloween, and just get you excited. And this kill here that Dylan wanted to see is a perfect example of that. So
Mhm.
I love living in the space and being able to relive in Halloween 4. So kudos to you, Dylan, for giving us that classic Kelly Meeker kill. But I think without further ado, we do have to pay our respects to Miss Kelly Meeker.
Yes, we do. Poor soul. Poor soul.
Oh boy, what'd she say? Cops do it by the book.
That's what her shirt says. Yes. So
Mm,
gotta
famous
love
last
it.
words.
But alrighty, I guess that wraps us up for kill of the week. So what do we got next on the docket
Well,
there,
this is
Luke?
something else that's going to get you excited, Dylan. We are into our history of horrors, and as we are recording this, it is October 9th. So, what came out on October 9th? Well, of course, it's got to be Wrong Turn 2, dead end.
Trapped in the Middle Ages.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
So yeah, this I mean, it's a guilty pleasure for sure. I remember my parents renting this, I believe, or at least my dad did, because he's a big fan of the first film. I also am a big fan of the first, and so are you. We discussed that a month or so ago when we were talking about that Blu-ray from Umbrella. So it's one of those things where it's like, for me, this was just kind of one of those movies where I walked in and I watched a woman get cut down the middle hot dog style with an axe, and I was just like, hold the fuck on. What is this? And I sat down and I watched about as much as they would let me watch, because yeah, it's pretty graphic. It wasn't really the gore they were worried, but it was more the sexual content. So I didn't get to experience it all the way through. It wasn't until a few years later, when we had a computer in the home, that I was able to. Someone had uploaded it piece by piece on YouTube, as they would back in the day. So I would watch 10-minute clips in a playlist, and just finally got to see the whole movie in and of itself.
I'm sure you were just so excited and being able to see it in its entirety.
Yeah.
A couple of tidbits here, though. Directed by Joe Lynch. This was 4 years after the original, so I believe this came out in 2007. This was released direct to DVD, so it didn't even have a theatrical release. And I think I think the original Wrong Turn was the only one that really had that theatrical release up until I don't know what you want to call the newest one, a reboot, a remake, reimagining. I'm not sure, but yeah. So this kind of really set I think this one really set the tone for what the Wrong Turn franchise had become, because from my perspective, going in from the original Wrong Turn into Wrong Turn 2, there is quite a dip in quality in terms of makeup effects, storytelling, even the tension that's built. If you haven't guessed, I am not a fan of Wrong Turn 2.
Yeah, and I kind of have a hard time with that one with you. I just feel like it is so much fun. I think that they just really have a lot of fun with this concept. And I just don't know, like, I guess just kind of shocks me. I feel like this is one of those ones that I felt like you would kind of have at least a little bit of nostalgia for. But knowing how big of a fan you are of the first one, I guess I can kind of see how the rest of these sequels really just kind of bastardize what you view as, the superior variant of Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
But I know you enjoyed the remake
Yes.
a good deal. Like, that was a good retake on it. Like, it's very different
It
from
feels
what it
it has
was.
quality to it, I feel, whereas the other ones don't. This one, one of the big things is the makeup company that takes over. I know it's a different makeup company, and they just look different. They look bad from my perspective. So it really has taken me out of it, because it's like that first film. I think it's great storytelling, great tension. I think the designs look great. And then when we get to 2, and I'm kind of expecting that again, and I don't get it. It's just really, I ended up checking out of this film just because it's like, this is not for me.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can understand that. This will be something that pops up on Splattercast at some point, just so you can prepare yourself. It'll probably be a little while, but I think that I have too much nostalgia for this to just pass it over. But I mean, with that, you can also go ahead and bring up the first one, and we can discuss that in the remake. I think all 3 of these will pop up on there. The other sequels, we'll just have to see. Maybe as we go further and further down the line, you catch us here in 3 or 4 years still doing this, then we'll we might have to go down that rabbit hole, but we'll see.
Dust off Wrong Turn 5.
Oh god, I don't know, man. They get real rough after a while, and I own all of them digitally, so that's a series I had to have all of them, because it's a kind of it's unfortunate to say it, but it is one of those garbage series, one of those fast food horror series is what it turns into. And sometimes I just like throwing them on and having a good time with the kills and the inbred hillbillies. I would like to see them continue on with it, maybe continue with what they started with the remake. I don't necessarily know if you can continue that story, but I mean, if you put Wrong Turn on it and kind of do your own spin on it, almost like an anthology. I know we want to turn everything we talk about into an anthology, it seems like, on this show, but I don't know. I think you could throw Wrong Turn up there and put a bunch of backwoods scenarios onto people's plates, and I think you could have a couple of winners in there.
Yeah. I think this is a franchise that has a lot of potential, whether you're going with that initial story with inbreds, or if you're kind of going from the remakes perspective. I think there's a lot of story to tell on both ends here. So I would love to see some sort of, I guess, reboot, reimagining of the original story as well. Time will tell if that actually happens, but I think Wrong Turn is still a viable franchise, even though, these sequels are going straight to DVD and the quality is suspect at best. I still think that there is something there. So I would love for them to kind of, almost like with what they did with Hellraiser, is kind of recalibrate and refocus somewhere, trying to get that quality back, because I think this franchise is worth doing that. It's just kind of finding the right players to put in place to do that.
No, I completely agree with you there. I think if they can do what they did the last time, where they just got a guy who's passionate about it in the director's chair, who was excited to kind of reinvigorate it, bring something new to it instead of just, recycling the same old concept over and over again, then I think you could really have a viable series that could make a strong resurgence. And I think they already proved that they're on that path. So I just hope they continue it. I don't think a lot of people saw that new Wrong Turn, and I think it's unfortunate. So
yeah, well, and I think my question was, are there going to be inbreds? And when that kind of came out that there wasn't, then there wasn't that much interest. But then even in that case, where I think the Wrong Turn franchise has just become a product that, people start questioning. It's like Jeepers Creepers, where it's like, I don't know if I want to see this based on the quality of the last film. So I feel like going direct to DVD and kind of continuously releasing bad film after bad film, that the audience dwindled more and more, even the ones that were there for that inbred storyline, until eventually there is a, niche audience for this, and it's not enough to warrant, a big budget, because there's probably an audience that's not going to show up for it. So it's kind of like one of those things where I know I keep comparing this to Hellraiser, where maybe this should show up somewhere streaming. I mean, this could be a Shudder thing. You know what I mean? If you wanted to go the inbred route, I still think that that Wrong Turn film, the newest one, has some teeth to it, where you could really do something different with it, make it into a more serious tone, and not kind of that straight up horror inbred subgenre kind of element, and really tell a more grounded story from the foundation in what we had gotten in that remake.
No, I think you're completely correct. I think that, if we just, and like, your comparison to Hellraiser is a good one, because it is just like, that's a series that was in, direct DVD hell for so long, no pun intended. And then they finally resurrected it. The only thing that I'd say the difference is that, Hellraiser got picked up by a big studio and then got picked up by a big streaming service, where Wrong Turn did fall with its brethren and go direct to DVD. Granted, I don't think that was the intent, because it was marred because it was supposed to come out the year of 2020. So it was just kind of dealt an unfair hand there. I think this was supposed to end up in theaters, I believe, for a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, that is what it is. So I would like to see this series continue, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the horror gods bestow upon us.
We will see what we will be showered with, I suppose. But let's hop into the actual format of the show, and we can talk about some of the current topics happening in the horror community.
Alrighty.
With werewolves and subterranean creatures already on the resume, we can add a new creature to the production line at Neil Marshall's Monster Factory. Marshall's new film, The Lair, finally received a trailer after reports the film would be released on October 28th. Stepping away from his own unique horror tales to do Hellboy, Marshall is making his creature comeback with some tentacled, half-human, half-alien biological weapons of mass destruction. With two popular creature features under his belt already, will Neil Marshall go for the trifecta in time for Halloween? Now, we did cover this maybe a month and a half ago on the Sunday Scaries when it was just a little tidbit of news. We didn't have a trailer, and Dylan, you had talked about it's intriguing, but we don't really see too much. You'd have to see a trailer to really make a definitive decision on it. Now that you've seen the trailer, where are you laying on this on good or bad for the layer?
Hey, we just talked about Dog Soldiers not too long ago, and with that came a subsequent rewatch of The Descent, interspersed in that for both of us unintentionally, but we did both end up watching it. So, beforehand, I hadn't revisited his content in a little while. So I guess I wasn't, the only thing I had seen up to that point of his recently had been Hellboy. So I don't think I was as enthusiastic as I
Yeah.
was for it coming out of his rewatch of those two films. Especially because The Descent was one that I realized that I didn't think I had ever actually seen all the way through, or I'd seen something. I think I ended up getting that more mixed up with the sequel because I remember watching it on like Sci-Fi or something. But
Yeah.
I think this trailer is cool. I'm excited that it's going to be released on Shudder. That was a nice surprise there. We'll be able to watch that there and get you guys a nice review, so I don't have to worry about tracking this thing down. But I mean, it looks like it's right in his wheelhouse. Like I was telling you before we started, it looks like a nice little meld of kind of like the soldier aspect from Dog Soldiers, and then of course the darkness, the creatures in the dark, whatever I was trying to say there. It just looks like he's kind of putting those two worlds together, and I'm excited for that. I think it looks neat. It looks like he's going full CG though with these
Yeah.
creatures. So I mean, that was a little bit of a drawback for me. But I mean, I'm easy to forgive with that. I am a creature feature person, but I would like to see him go practical because he's just done practical so well. But the concept intrigues me. I think if it looks more like it's going to be cheesy fun and less of something that I'm going to sit back like a Dog Soldiers or a Descent and say like, wow, that was legitimately great. But I think that this could be a fun time to watch. And I mean, it's coming to us in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I'll be able to make my decision there. And if it's something that I could throw on every once in a while and just have a gory fun time with some cool looking monsters that they don't, and I think the CG can be saved if they don't show them too much. But only time is going to tell. But I am excited for this. I am definitely more invigorated than I was.
Yeah. Neil Marshall definitely has a knack for these creature features, and I'm excited he's going back to something that's more unique, a unique property to himself, rather than trying to replicate something that's already been out there and established. So looking at this trailer, I mean, I was intrigued by that tidbit of news. I was like, okay, I really want to see where this goes because he is an established director in the creature feature kind of genre. So I was already mildly excited about it, and then finally seeing the trailer, I think it just kind of confirmed it. Like you said, it was a little disappointment because it does look like they're all purely CGI, and I guess with what they're doing, and maybe I don't know what his kind of what his name carries in terms of budget anymore with the kind of issues that Hellboy had. So I'm curious if maybe he didn't even have the option to go practical in that, because we do know that if he can, he will. It is a little bit of a disappointment. I think the creature design looks very interesting. I know we only get like a few shots here and there because it's a small trailer. We only see the very basics of everything. The tentacles for me looked a little wonky, but again, it's such a short shot. I want to see when it's actually out and available and kind of actually take it all in the story and see if I still have an issue with it or not. So that's going to be questionable to see kind of how that CGI is going to hold up on that first viewing and then subsequent ones thereafter. But I'm intrigued to see where he's going to go with this. I would think that this is probably, will this be a knockout of the park? If I'm gonna have to give you an answer right now, I would say probably not. But I think this is gonna get the Neil Marshall that we know back into form. So even if this isn't a knockout of the park, I fully expect his next film to kind of wow us a little more. So I think this is maybe a palate cleanser for him to kind of get back into the groove of things. I do like the idea of, I think this takes place in Afghanistan, is what they said.
Mhm.
And it seems like they're going to be taking on almost a whole army of these half alien, half human creatures. So I'm curious to see how that's gonna go. Very intriguing. I think some of the dialogue came off as a little cheesy for me. So I think maybe they're gonna play into that tongue in cheekness of things. So we'll see. We know that he, with Dog Soldiers, he kind of can nail that camaraderie between soldiers. So I think, I think that's a safe bet to kind of to write that element into here because we know he can do it. So I'm intrigued. I think the trailer did get me pumped up a little bit more just seeing the visuals here, and I'm intrigued by that creature design. The poster looked fun. So I really want to see where he goes with this. I really hope this gets him back into the form that we know him for best.
Yeah, and we have had a stellar year here. We keep bringing it up in 2022 with horror. So I mean, I guess I can't really uh bet on anything anymore. I
Yeah.
think that, like, Terrifier was the final nail in the coffin for me because, like, I said that I wasn't looking forward to Barbarian, and it might be my favorite horror film of the year so far. I was skeptical of Terrifier 2 when, I saw the first one, and, just knowing the kind of content that it was. And again, I was blown away by that. Smile wasn't even that bad. Like, Smile
Yeah.
looked like something like a Ready or Not, and it had a little bit more going to it. It wasn't necessarily my favorite, but it wasn't something where I was like, oh, that was god awful, like. So I really don't know if I can sit here and fling criticisms that hard at it. And I think if he does knock this out of the park, then this is just, hopefully the completion of Neil Marshall's what do you want to call it, Creatures and Green Glow Sticks trilogy.
There we go.
Is if you want to throw that on like a Shout Factory cover, because, like, again, the green glow sticks come back. You had them in Dog Soldiers, you had them in The Descent, and they're back in this one. So hey, if this hits, man, then I won't be surprised with the year we've been having. And I'll be all the happier for it because, I love me a good creature feature.
Yeah, this looks like a lot of fun. It definitely will be one that if it's available to me when it's on its release, I will be watching. Because I'm intrigued. Neil Marshall.
It's
Well,
gonna be on Shutter, so you'll
okay.
be there. Mhm.
So, and I mean, we gushed about him during Dog Soldiers, so everyone knows where we lay on that side of things. With The Descent, I think he did another great job. With this one, I mean, getting back into that form, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I don't think it can, even if it's not uh, the best Neil Marshall that we know, and it's kind of at the tail end of his filmography in terms of the other two that we're talking about. I still think it's going to be decent. So I'm intrigued. The trailer did its job for me. Uh, like you said, we've been surprised by a lot of these horror films. For me, going into Beast, I was not surprised. I was not expecting what the quality that I was going to get there. So, and you were talking about Smile. I think any other year that would have been, if we had a rough year in horror, that could have been a shining light. It just wasn't this year because of all the wild quality horror films that we've gotten. So I'm
Mhm.
intrigued for the layer. I'm glad that we're seeing Neil Marshall get a horror film this year. Again, I think that just kind of speaks for the year in horror that we're going to get good, bad, or indifferent. Having a lot of these heavy hitters releasing films this year, and a lot of them available streaming. I mean, we are some lucky ducks here to be drinking in all this content.
I agree, brother.
All right, let's hop into our next little bit here. Don't forget to be kind and rewind because the VHS franchise has announced its next installment and its stack list of directors. With VHS 99 slated to hit Shudder on October 20th, the franchise shows no signs of slowing down as it looks to focus on 1985 for its next release of Twisted Tales. Horror juggernauts David Bruckner, who just saw the release of Hellraiser, and Scott Derrickson, who celebrated success with The Black Phone, have both been announced with segments in VHS 85. With its found footage anthology roots, can we see this franchise having an endless supply of accounts of the macabre? This one, I haven't seen any of the VHS films, to be honest. I didn't really know too much what they were about. I did a little research before we hopped on here. This story just intrigued me because of the names attached to it. And these are what found footage films or anthology films. It looks intriguing. I was just surprised that someone like Scott Derrickson was attached, or now that David Bruckner's kind of out there for an audience to learn about, and having that big Hellraiser property debuting on Hulu. It surprised me that these two were both announced, but they are. Apparently, Scott Derrickson said on Twitter that his segment's already, is ready. It sounds like. I don't know if he already filmed it or what exactly happened there, but they're good to go. I'm intrigued by this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, VHS is something that's kind of eluded me as well over the years. I remember when the first one came out, it was a pretty big deal, and I know that there's a couple of these. There's, so I think, like, if I'm looking at it correctly, we've got VHS in 2012, VHS 2 in 2013, then VHS Viral, VHS 94, and now VHS 99. That's coming out. So I mean, like, I think we'll have to kind of dive into these a little bit.
I think so too.
Because I would like to cover VHS 99. It looks pretty interesting from what I saw. But this has me very excited, very intrigued, I should say, because us, we love ourselves a good anthology. And this is one of those things where it's like, I think that what they're offering here as far as directors is quite impressive. I mean, just with those two names alone, there is going to be quite a bit here to chew on, and I'm looking forward to it, because I mean, just Scott Derrickson, with him knocking it out of the park with The Black Phone, and David Bruckner, who just had Hellraiser. I mean, like, fuck yeah, dude, let's do it. And I think he was David Bruckner already did one of these.
Yes.
He was in the first one, so that's awesome.
I think Ty West was as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know another name attached to this is actually the guy who did Wrong Turn, the new one.
Mike P. Nelson?
Yes, he also, he has a story in here as well. So again, some strong directors coming out here, and I don't know how long these films go for, or how long each story is, if it's designated 20 minutes or how it really goes. But you look at The Black Phone, you look at even The Ritual or Wrong Turn here, where even if these guys have 20 minutes, they can make it count. So it's like, and I think even that's going to benefit them even more to kind of give you the best 20 to 25 minutes that you can get. So, all these guys have kind of roots, it seems like, in grounded storytelling to an extent. So I really think that they can make those compelling stories, especially if it's found footage in this anthology, where maybe they ground it a little more. And I know each one seems to have a running theme, where I think 99 has something to do with like punk rock or something like that in 1999. So I'm curious to see what they tackle in 85. There's a lot of societal issues going on at that time, so I'm curious to see what kind of elements they bring to it. But just with these directors alone, it seems like we're going to get a lot of interesting, versatile stories that they're going to tell.
Yeah, so this one has caught my attention. I'm very curious to see what this is going to do. I mean, it's one of my favorite time periods as far as horror goes. I hope they kind of lean more slasher with this. I'd like to see that. And with the, like I said, directors in charge here, having 3 people on here that I'm just super into right now, then that's a sell for me. So I will definitely probably make it my mission to go back and look at some of these older VHS films. I know they're streaming all the time everywhere.
Yeah.
And just available. Check them out. Yeah, and they look, I just kind of breezed through them. They look like they're a breeze. Some of them are just barely over an hour and a half. So it's like, you know, you can kind of just burn through them pretty quickly. So who knows? I think with everything we got going on, on the channel, we may only be able to get a review of 99, but I think before 85 comes out in 2023, maybe we'll go through and check out these other ones and get you guys some reviews of them. We'll just have to see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued because I did a little research prior to getting on here, and I believe like the first VHS film budget was like 250,000, and then the second one had like 350,000, and then I couldn't find any actual figures for the following ones. I'm only assuming that the budget may have gotten smaller because I don't think as many big names had been attached. That first one had Ty West and David Bruckner, I think, attached. So it's kind of like, I think talent wise, it became more up and comers than anything else. I know when this was announced, it seemed like on Twitter, a lot of people were very surprised that Scott Derrickson was announced to it, as well as him confirming it on his Twitter. So it just seemed like this was kind of out of left field. But, again, I feel like these guys are going to be able to tell those grounded stories, even if the budget is extremely small, and just kind of give us something unique and different, which is what I love about, anthology films, is that, maybe stories 1 and 3 aren't for you, but 2 and 4 and 5 are great. So, it's such a variety pack there where I think there's going to be something for everybody. And I mean, with the high I'm riding from the Black Phone, you put Scott Derrickson's name on anything at this point, and I will go watch it.
I agree, man. That's he's still got a lot of points in my book for that one. So I am definitely into it.
But time will tell, and like you said, we'll go back at some point and kind of revisit these. I definitely want to watch a couple of them to kind of get a feel for it, just because it seems like something unique. It's something that has really flown under my radar, and I think this is what the announcement of this one's going to be like, the 5th installment. So I think it's about time that we dust this off and actually commit to VHS. We were surprised by Terrifier 2, so we'll see what happens.
It's got to be a good sign too that the other one hasn't even come out yet, and they're already greenlighting another. So that's cool. And
it seems like it's going to be a staple probably on Shudder for a long while.
And I was going to say, I think that this is a good home for stuff like this as Shudder. So
it almost feels like I don't know if you saw any of those Masters of Horrors things where like they had like Mick Garris and John Carpenter, I think, and a lot of people come back and kind of do smaller, like half-hour stories. This really feels like what VHS is becoming. Is we're going to get some of these guys to come back and tell very small stories that aren't high in any budget or anything like that. So I'm intrigued to see where they're going to go with this. I hope they start getting into getting at least 1 or 2 bigger directors to come in and tell a small story, because especially I think because there are a few up and comers and that were attached to 1985. So, to kind of get eyes on their work by using more known directors, I think is an intriguing way to kind of give those opportunities to new directors.
It's a good way to spread the wealth.
I like the way you put that, Dylan. All right, let's move into our next topic here. Pour out your treat pails and open your candy bars. Just make sure there aren't any razor blades in them before you take a bite. It looks like we may be heading back to Warren Valley sometime soon, as creator Michael Dougherty has said a Trick or Treat sequel is in very active development. While it isn't greenlit just yet, Legendary, the studio who brought the first film to DVD, is working with Dougherty to try to bring our little friend in the orange onesie back to the for another night of slaughter and sweets. If we get another night in Warren Valley, should we get another anthology story? Dylan, what are your thoughts?
We were kind of discussing this a little bit beforehand. I think that it would only be natural to do an anthology story. I know we kind of differ on this, but I think that, kind of going back to it, I know a long time ago it was pitched that maybe the sequel would be kind of like a movement through time. I think it was, where it would be like you'd see something from like the 80s, you'd see something from like the Salem witch trial era, you'd see something from like current day, and like I think that would be really cool. That'd be a nice way to play with that anthology kind of spin to it. But really, they could do anything in this universe, and I'd be happy to see it come back to screen. just because, again, Sam is an icon for both of us. We both love him to death. And I think that, you know, for someone who only has one movie, what he's been able to do to come into being a part of the big boys, I'd say, is great. And I love the world that Michael Dougherty set up here. And all I want to do is spend more time in Halloween-based content directed by Michael Dougherty, because he, more so than I think anybody in recent time, understands the tone and feeling of this holiday.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adore this movie. So anything that they want to do with it, whether it's anthology, you know, a more linear story, I'm on board for. But for me, I think anthology is the best route you could go.
Yeah, and you know, I don't. I'm not against an anthology. It works so well for that first film. I think there's again, we're only talking about VHS here. I love variety packs of films, and there's something different where you can kind of say, "Oh, I like this story a little bit more than that story," even if they all hit. You know, which for me, in Trick or Treat, I think they all did. In terms of not going the anthology route, I think you could do something there if you kind of expand upon. One of the things for me is that Sam has become such an icon in terms of, you know, you go to Spirit Halloween, there's sections dedicated with the man in the orange onesie, you know, so he's such a big selling point for this film that they're in a different place now where when this was coming out, no one really knew what to expect. Yes, Sam was the icon already that was on the, you know, he was a selling point where, you know, when you saw the cover art, it was Sam in the orange onesie and, you know, it got everyone intrigued. But now that we've seen it, we know kind of what he looks like under the sack and all this stuff. I think it's got people asking more questions. I think he's become such an icon with just this one film with his limited screen time. I think a general audience coming into Trick or Treat 2 would want to see more from Sam. So I could very easily see this being, like you said, some sort of linear story where what we're, you know, whether you go group of kids, if you want to go adults. I could easily see this being a group of kids or teenagers trying to solve the idea of what Sam is, and Sam still going in his routes of, you know, killing people. Maybe he's doing something, killing people for a reason that we don't know, and they're all tied together for something. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think you could really do something with Sam and kind of make him a focal point, because I think that's what a general audience is going to want because he's so iconic already. So, you know, I don't think he can. I think one of the things that I would struggle with in seeing a part two that's very anthology centric in the way that we had seen Sam just show up for a lot of the aftermath is that we just wouldn't get enough, that everyone wants to see more from him, to kind of treat him almost like a crypt keeper or something, where we're not really getting, he's just kind of the extra piece, that the cherry on top. I don't know if people would be okay with that. I think maybe people would want to go in and see a little bit more from Sam.
No, you know, you putting it that way, it does open the idea to me a little bit more of what they could do with him. And you know, it's one of those things where it's like, as long as we have Michael Dougherty behind this, and you know, if he wants to do it any which way, I support it. You know, I personally think that because, you know, yes, he is an icon, and yes, a lot of people know him. There's still a ton of people who haven't seen Trick or Treat, I think, in the general sense.
Yes.
So to me, it might make more sense to kind of, if you come back with a second one, maybe they try to green light this for two more, and then this can be like a trilogy type thing. So it's like, you know, we have this second one that maybe follows a little bit of a closer formula to the first, to kind of actually get it in theaters, you know, get this in front of people, really put some good marketing behind it, and then we'll kind of move our way into wrapping this whole thing up by making it more Sam centric.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just this is. We're excited about it. This is a good story. This is great to hear, but there's so little information right now that we're just kind of speculating. We're just throwing things into the ether right now. But it's like, once we get more information and we do kind of understand the root of this, I will be excited to kind of theorize a little harder on what could happen. But I mean, the sky's the limit at this point. And I think that's the beauty of that first film, is that, they set up so much with this little character, and then also just the world around this character, where it's like, we're not just talking about slashers. We're not just talking about, like, classic, Halloween monsters like werewolves and zombies and things. It seems like everything that, you could associate this holiday with is on the table in this universe. So it's like, I want to see what they do with that. I
Yeah.
want to see them maybe like make some more closer homages to, some of these classic horror movies that we know. Like, what happens if you're dealing with Sam and there's he stumbles across somebody who's dealing with almost like a body snatcher situation. You know what I mean? Like, what happens with that? We had the kind of tease of, like vampires and shit. Like, I think that, like, we've seen werewolves now. So, like, what if we follow into that a little bit harder? Because, like,
Yeah.
the vampire in that one was a misdirect. So it's like, what would they do if it was real? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just where my head is at right now.
Yeah, and I think that Michael Dougherty did such a great job of opening up that fictional town of Warren Valley, and wanting us to kind of want to come visit, but also stay there. So it's like having more time in Warren Valley is always going to be a plus. So, whatever he wants to end up doing, I think it's going to be fun. I mean, we've looked at Krampus, and you look at Trick or Treat, you look at Krampus. The guy has a knack for unique storytelling. These are two different films, but still also feel in the same universe in some fashion, I think. So I'm really intrigued to see what he does. You were talking about kind of where this could go down the line. And it would be intriguing for me to see a Sam-centric story, maybe in this film, kind of get him at that forefront. And then do something like how they're doing Creepshow on Shudder, where you could have Sam's Days of Halloween, and he comes back for 4 weekly things on Netflix. You know what I mean? And it's anthology based with him featuring him in random scenarios. Where it's like he does come back and just shows up at the very end because of some random reason. It's just like kind of he's not the focal point, but he's there. So he's kind of in the same universe of everything else that's going on. So I think, again, it's a rich universe. There's a lot to be done here. You can really take advantage of this and really go anywhere you want to in this universe. So I'm just excited that this is in very active development, according to him. So this is something like us being Trick or Treat fans, you're not going to put on the docket.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this is exciting. I know just like we say with our Friday the 13th stuff and our Halloween stuff, like any little bit of news that we get from this franchise will be reported on. So just understand that. Any little nugget, I promise you.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for Trick or Treat Part 2, ? Now, let's move into our last little topic here. Put a few silver bullets in the chamber if you plan to log on to Disney Plus, because Werewolf by Night was released on the streaming platform. The streaming special was released just in time for the Halloween season. With its black and white aesthetic and darker tone, this has shown a more versatile side to Disney. A story of monsters and men, we follow our main characters Jack Russell and Elsa Bloodstone as they are vying for the Bloodstone among other hunters to find out who will become the new leader and wield the great power. With this being such a unique departure from a lot of the other Marvel properties, can this become an eventual tentpole property, or should this stay dormant until the next full moon? Now, Dylan, you already did a short on this one, so it sounded like you were pretty pleased with this.
Oh, yeah. No, I have some good things to say about it. So I am going to basically throw this over to you real quick, because we don't know what your opinions are on it. And I think that it's only fair that if they don't know already, I think you brought it up before. I don't remember if it was on the podcast or if it was on this show, about how you've kind of fallen off the Marvel bandwagon quite a while ago.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you really follow into very hard. as opposed to me where I watch everything that they put out. Like I'm a fanboy. So, it's like I was expected to watch this, but this was more intriguing because I think, was it the buzz that you heard around it, or did you just simply watch it because of the channel and me pestering you?
No, and neither. There's one word in the title that
That
made me,
caught your attention.
yes.
Okay.
So I was gonna get around to watching this. This was funny enough appearing in something that that there was a character in a script that maybe came a little bit on the nose, and it was a way of storytelling when I had looked up comic books, and this was appearing in there. So as soon as I heard that this was announced and going to be an actual tangible property, it had my attention, a year ago, maybe. So I was intrigued by this. I know you sent me the trailer. Was that just a couple weeks ago is when we got that trailer?
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
And just by the trailer, it looked great. I love that it was something so different than what we had been seeing. Like still haven't got around to Multiverse of Madness, unfortunately. I think maybe after seeing this, I am going to commit to that whenever I have a moment free, hopefully here in October, because this does not feel like a Marvel movie to me. Very different. It's very much its own thing. So I can't put too much stock on me saying I'm going to get back on the old Marvel train, but I am definitely on the Werewolf by Night train. This was so refreshing, so different than what I'm used to seeing. I love the black and white choice here. It looked perfect. Just the story was a lot of fun, different. Characters were great, I thought. The effects looked wonderful. I know we're gonna jump all over here. The ending, or I guess we're gonna do spoilers for this.
Yeah, no, we'll be spoiling Werewolf by Night here. It's a 50-minute special, so there is really no point to doing a spoiler-free review, in our opinion. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, just know, I guess that's a recommendation from Luke, and you got a recommendation from me. So check it out and come back and hear what we think. But yeah, feel free to spoil all you want.
And this is like, by the end of it, we're in Cuther, and we see Man-Thing throughout this whole, little tidbits and everything. And at the end, he's in Cuther, and I questioned maybe the CGI in Hellraiser a little bit. For me, it didn't work. Man-Thing looked really good, I thought. Like, I don't know if it was just me, but I was like, when we're doing the close-ups of him, I was like, what the hell's going on here? This thing looks phenomenal. So I was like, Werewolf by Night, knock out of the park. Loved it.
Yeah, no, this was great. I was very, very pleased with this. I think when the buzz started to come out from people who saw the trailer early before they released it, and they were saying like, this is different, this is not going to be your typical Marvel fare, it was something where I was like, okay, that's cool, I'm gonna watch it regardless. But I was just like, it's cool that people have been kind of clamoring for something different and new, because like I said it in my short, Marvel has been really in a bit of a rut lately. I have liked certain movies more than others. I'm not going to go through and tell you every single one, but positives for me in this phase 4 have been things like, of course, Spider-Man was good fun. Multiverse of Madness might be my favorite of the new movies. I thought Shang-Chi was pretty good, but everything else has kind of left you kind of pining for more. As far as the TV shows go, I liked them at the start a lot, but it's just starting to feel like way too much.
Yeah.
They are just inundating us with content. And if you would have told me 2 years ago that that's how I'd be feeling now, I would have said you're crazy. But I'm starting to get fatigued. I never thought that I would say that, but I really am, with all of the Marvel content to keep up on. Like, She-Hulk is fine. I don't have nearly as many issues with it as other people do, but I haven't finished it, and I'm many episodes behind. and I'm just kind of like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Like, I don't really have the motivation nor the time or the effort to watch these things week by week by week. So they need to slow down. But what they need to ramp up is more stuff like this, because this was exciting. It was fun. It was different. It really hit those tones, and it does show growth for Marvel finally, where they're just saying, okay, it's black and white. We can kind of get away with showing a little bit more violence, making this a little bit harder content. Let's do it. And, it's not the hardest content. It's still got some jokes and some stuff, but even then, the jokes aren't as overbearing as they have been in certain other Marvel properties that we've gotten. A lot of people complain that the humor is starting to kind of become the center focal point for these movies, and in a way it is. But this, I feel like all the jokes were well placed. I enjoyed the relationship between Werewolf by Night and Man Thing. I thought that they were great. I thought it was really cute, the name they gave him, where they call him Ted. That's that Marvel humor that we're kind of getting nowadays. That I don't really like too much, but it worked for this. And it just surprised me within 15 minutes how they were not only able to jam so much into this, as far as like building up this character and these characters themselves, like especially our two leads, but then make you care about them so much. And again, you're right. The aesthetic was great. I love the film grain. I love the music. I love the tone. This was directed by Michael Giacchino, who is most well known for doing a lot of scores. He's a composer. So like he's done like Mandalorian, Jurassic World, all kinds of, he does a lot of the Marvel stuff too. He does all kinds of work with that. So it's like the fact that he kind of stepped up and directed this was really a great showing for him. But I do have complaints, and I do have a couple of things that bugged me, primarily being, and this is just a preference thing, I wasn't in love with the look of the werewolf. Overall body and everything was fine. When he got to his face, I kind of wanted more, and this is going to be strange, but from that poster there, I wanted a little something closer to the Benicio del Toro Wolfman kind of look.
Yeah.
As to where I think they leave a little too much humanity in his face when he turns. And, it's practical for the most part. It's still, it's makeup, and, it is a special. So, I mean, maybe if they do get a bigger budget or they get to do a little bit more with it, they could add to it. But that kind of bugged me a little bit. And then, I agree with you. When they moved to color, the CG looked great. But it was just one of those things that made me worried. Like when we revisit these characters, which obviously if you cross them into something with other characters like Blade or something, and they have to go to color, that makes sense. But I kind of don't want to leave this black and white aesthetic so quickly. Like, I think this works. I would love to see this be like a yearly thing where we get this nice kind of harkening back to the old style of cinema story, where we follow this character as he's meeting up with kind of this underbelly of Marvel monster characters. And, we kind of get to see that a little bit. I would like that to continue on. And I'm afraid that, it's just going to go to color, and then we might lose some of the magic here. But those are nitpicks, really. At the end of the day, I still love a lot of this. A scene that really sticks out to me is when he first breaks out of the cage, and you have that sweeping shot across the room, and you see the eyes on the wall, and then he jumps down and attacks somebody. Like, that was just excellent. Like, really just excellent filmmaking, great tension building. And yeah, so that's my little rant. I know I went on quite a bit there, but yeah, I'll pass it now off to Luke there. So
yeah, in the kind of like the tension, the terror that they built, and it's not like off the wall terror or anything like that, but more so than what you're used to seeing for any Marvel film or anything from that Disney makes. I thought was great, because when he's I didn't think that they were really going to go more of a graphic route that they did, in terms of it is black and white, but the blood splatter on the camera lens, that kind of stuff. I was like, oh man, they're really trying here to make this feel different. I think that was I think Elsa is also the one that puts a sword in the one of the hunters' heads, maybe, or
Yes, yeah,
something.
she stabs him in the jaw, and that guy gets his arm cut off. And I like when he's rolling around fighting, and you see the flecks of blood coming out still.
Yeah,
Like they really went for it, and I think that's why this is getting so much applause too from like Marvel fans, because people are worried about Blade. We've had a lot of sour news about Blade recently with the director leaving. Apparently, it's a mess on set. Mahershala Ali's not very happy. Kevin Feige is spread too thin right now between all these projects. And, that has basically been one of those projects where it's like people have been worried that it's like, are you going to Marvel Disney-fy this? Is this going to be like phase 4? And, you're not going to show blood. You're not going to show any of this when he's a vampire killer. So, this does give me faith, though, that they can kind of lean into it. I think Marvel Knights as a brand needs to be a thing, a subsidiary of this Marvel universe.
yeah,
Because if you have that, then you can tell darker stories. You could put Werewolf by Night in there. You could put Ghost Rider in there, Blade, all these other characters. I mean, we have Daredevil coming over from the Netflix series, which is still canon. Those are very much rated R series. Like they're, other than like graphic nudity or anything, it's violent as hell. So it's one of
yeah.
those things where it's like I just they really need to let people know, or at least give them some kind of a signal that these characters are going to be taken care of. Like they are going to have the platform that we understand that they need to play in. They can play in this playground. And I think this is a sign that they're heading in that direction. At least I hope.
Yeah, and they have some of these characters that have darker tones to them, and I think you need to embrace that. Everything can't feel the same. Like you're saying, a lot of things just you can't really differentiate. I think Marvel has a big cookie cutter kind of atmosphere to them a lot of the times, and this is something that felt new and fresh and different, and going against that Marvel grain that we're so used to. And you're talking about it going to the color at the end. I didn't really know the significance of it becoming color at the end. I wasn't sure if that was just like a creative choice or a moment of levity after so much tension throughout the distress of the entire episode. So it was in black and white, and then by the end of it, where he's just sitting there with Man Thing, kind of no tension. They're just talking. I didn't know if
They're
that's
just
kind of,
buddies at that point.
yeah, if it was just like, since now we're at the resolution, it becomes color, and that's kind of the creative choice throughout any of the episodes of it's black and white until the tension leaves, and we end in color to kind of signify, all is well for now. So, I guess for me, I didn't take it the way that now that it became color at the end, that's the way that we were sticking. I loved that kind of juxtaposition of feeling the difference toward the end of everything coming into color, and then playing the Wizard of Oz kind of feeling there that they had given us. I thought that was really well done. Overall, the design of the werewolf, I think, was pretty good. I understand what you're saying too. I guess kind of in retrospect, I would have loved to have seen a little more, what do you want to say, animal, I guess,
Mhm.
feeling toward him. I know, I think both of our preferences, werewolves on all fours, but I like that this one kind of felt kind of like a Universal-esque Wolfman. I think that was a great choice
And I'm
there.
fine with that. It's,
Yeah,
again, you're right though. It's just I wanted more animalistic features in the face.
yeah. But again, something so different. It's hard for me to speak negative about this because
Mhm.
I wasn't really, seeing the trailer for it. It felt different, but you still go in there with a little hesitation when you're always hoping for something. This had almost like a Thor Ragnarok feel, where it was something very different compared to what we were used to getting. So I really hope they do stick with this. I don't know what their intention is, if this is going to be turned into anything long form. If this is something where it only becomes like a Halloween special, I mean, I would love to see something a little more, but if we're only going to get this every Halloween season, I guess I'd be okay with that. But again, this is such I guess, a viable kind of world to live in. I would really be excited to see where they go. Honestly, seeing Man Thing on screen was, man, I never thought I would. So,
And I loved his power set of him just eviscerating people and picking them up.
Yes.
Like, and that was also really edgy and cool for Marvel, just watching these people get disintegrated so violently in front of you. It's like, it's different, you know, and it's cool seeing those characters. And I've said it 100 times. I'm a big Marvel Legend collector. I love my little Marvel Legends. I can't wait for the Werewolf by Night Marvel Legend to get announced with the Man-Thing Build-A-Figure. I know it's coming. I know they're going to do it, but like to have a little werewolf guy on my shelf that's like that would be nice. You know, I'll collect anything with a werewolf on it.
Exactly. I'm not. I don't really collect any of the Marvel stuff. But if you're gonna release a Werewolf by Night, sign me up. I will take if as many as they'll give me.
Yeah, and I think like overall, in closing thoughts on this, like it's surprising, it's nice, it's cool. I could see myself going back and watching this around every Halloween. It's just a sweet little in and out. It's a nice quick journey, and yeah, I just hope that we get more with this character. And you know, Gail Garcia Bernal, who played Jack Russell. Seriously, all the props in the world. I think that, you know, this is a very obscure character to most. Like, a lot of people don't know of his character, and the fact that he has brought such levity and humanity to it, and then also showed the ferocity and everything. Like, it was a beautiful, beautiful melding. And he is definitely somebody that I think, you know, we need to see more of him in the MCU, especially if we do, like I said, the Marvel Knights kind of stuff where we kind of lean into that. And yeah, I think the last bit of props I can really give it is give Michael Giacchino another thing to direct, man. Like, the dude's got talent. Like, this clearly he's got a vision, and he made all the music for this too. Like, fuck it, send it, let's go.
Yeah.
Give him something big, give him a full movie.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, this felt like a very much like a Halloween special, like something you're excited to turn on and excited. You don't want it to end because you don't want to leave this world. So I would love to see them play here a little bit longer, do something. Again, this feels so viable, especially with this whole hunters and monsters kind of dynamic that they have here. There's an endless amount of stories that you could tell. I think it's a lot of fun. It's very different. Even if you're tired of a lot of Marvel properties, this is something you definitely make time for because it feels different. It feels new. So definitely go out of your way to watch this. Assuming if you listen to this review with spoilers, you've already seen it. But it's worth a second, a third, and even a fourth watch.
I'm going to be watching it again for sure. I could see myself throwing this on here just before bed, just to kind of like just get sucked up in it. You know, it's just it feels nice, feels good, makes me feel happy. And I love werewolf content, and Marvel knocked some werewolf content out of the park. And you know, if I'll say it, if Luke likes something that Marvel puts out, then you know it's got some quality to it. Because, you know, like I said, you haven't been on board for a minute, so this is a nice surprise.
I was surprised by it as well. I'm very, very, very excited.
Awesome. But all right, I guess that's going to transition us into my segment of things. So strap yourselves in, folks, and get ready for this week's Gorecast.
The top of the world, fabulous 1340 KAB, Antonio Bay.
All righty, so as you can see, I failed us again. I did not mean to. There is no graphic this week. I was working on the graphic, and it looks like my Photoshop needed to force an update right away. I have no idea why. And it shut me out and didn't save my progress. Luke was literally sitting on the camera here with me when it happened, and it was frustrating and horrible. But we're gonna do it anyway. All right, we're doing it live. I don't give a fuck.
Doesn't
all right,
matter.
we're gonna do the screen share shit. We're gonna do all kinds of fun stuff so I can show you what the hell I'm talking about. So welcome to Gorecast. Strap the fuck in, because here we go. Yeah, I'm going hard. Anyway, we're going to start off with extra bits today, just because there's a good bit of little extra bits of news that really didn't warrant an entire story as usual, but I felt were at least something worth mentioning. So Terrifier 2 scares up $400,000 during its special event screening. That's pretty big considering this movie is 138 minutes and only showing in 900 theaters. And for some scale on that, most large films that come out in the United States alone get anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 theaters. So, like that's pretty freaking good for 900 theaters. That means that most of those screenings were pretty filled up. And I mean, like ours wasn't like a massive like theater room. I think it was like a 58 seats or something like
Yeah.
that. But like there was a good deal of people there. There was probably like 20 people in
Yeah.
our screening. So, but I mean, I understand it. Those tickets were $16 each, so it's like, it's a little bit more of a premium. But they had an average of about 480 something dollars per theater, which is pretty good for, such a low budget film. And kind of a big achievement for them is that of all of the new release movies that came out on Thursday, it topped every single one for Thursday night release. It came in second place, only behind Smile. And that's just this little tiny indie flick that was literally put out by Fangoria and Bloody Disgusting. So that's pretty cool.
And we talked about it during, I think, Terrifier, and then maybe touched on it again in Terrifier 2, where we had talked about, that Terrifier just seems like a showcase of kills, and maybe he was doing that to kind of get that second film to kind of tell a longer narrative, and it surely seems like that's what he was doing. He talked about it a little bit in the extra footage that we had seen after Terrifier 2. And to kind of achieve what he is, I mean, man, talk about a rock star. You know what I mean? Like just trying to get your content made, get something out there, and man, he's doing it.
Yeah, no, and it's awesome to see. Definitely great to be on board with this stuff too. Finally say that I'm in the Art the Clown corner. So it's like I'm excited to see what comes next. And I think that if they do go ahead with a Terrifier 3, which I feel like is very likely at this point.
Yes.
And they do kind of clean up on maybe not letting this thing go to 2.5 hours. Maybe you can get a bit of a wider release, and I think it has a chance of cleaning up pretty good again. Especially if they stay at that quality. Next on the docket, though, as far as extra bits go, we have Nicholas Hoult is in talks to be joining the Robert Eggers Nosferatu, which is something we talked about last week. I think he's a great actor. It is something that I think is like a really cool idea to have him in there. He kind of feels just like the look of him. He would fit really well with the kind of the cast that they're building. With him and Bill Skarsgård and everybody. Like, I think that he will really feel like he fits that time period that these movies are set in.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think he fits well. It doesn't seem like out of form casting in any sense. So I'd be curious to see. They didn't say what he would be casted for, right?
No.
Okay. It would be very intriguing just to see what role he's going to play in there. This Robert Eggers thing seems like it's really picking up some steam now in terms of being able to pick up some real talent. So I'm intrigued by that that announcement, just because it seems like he's really setting some good pieces in this to really set something that's. I mean, we talked about it maybe 2 weeks ago, where this could be something that is unique enough that could be talked about, for the next 100 years.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely has the potential to be pretty cool. And then the last little bit of news here that I have, and then I have some things to show before we get into the Blu-rays, is so this is pretty neat. So the guy who plays Art the Clown, unfortunately, like an idiot, I didn't write down his name, but he is going to be in another horror property coming to us this December. So, this will definitely be a nice little fun review. It is called You're a Mean One, and it is a Grinch themed slasher spoof film. that is going to be a free release. I don't necessarily know what they mean. I tried to figure out where that's coming from. So it could be anything from Tubi to Shudder, anything for us to check it out. So it could just even drop on YouTube. But it does seem like it's going to be some fun. They showed some images from it, and it looks like they're just letting the Grinch go wild. And I'm intrigued to see it. It looks like it could be a good bit of fun.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe the Blood and Honey had something to do with this, but
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more of this.
yeah, and I think this one could be a lot of fun. I think this one kind of fits in terms of that. The Grinch does seem like a sadistic character in a sense, so I feel like you could really do something fun with this. It does have my attention as well, especially the performance of Art the Clown. I think what is his name, David Howard Thornton, maybe.
Yes, that's actually what it is. I'm pretty sure.
So to kind of let him play this character where he in the Terrifier he has no lines, so it's just a very physical performance. In this type of thing, I think he'd be a great choice for some version of the Grinch. So I'm really excited for this. My Christmas horror kind of. I have a fascination with it, so hey, I'm on board.
Heck yeah. Alrighty, and before I move into Blu-rays, I did want to highlight some stuff here. I actually don't think we've spoken about this, Luke, but if you haven't seen it already, if you haven't been paying attention to Twitter or Instagram, NECA has been dropping some pretty cool stuff. I know one of them I sent you, which I'll mention here. I didn't pull up any images for it, and it's not on here, and I didn't sign into Instagram for this to really show it, but it looks like we're getting Chucky from Chucky season 1 with the melted face.
Yes.
We both discussed how much we really like that design, and that is cool. I was just talking about that I need to incorporate him in my display, and that is going to be the one that I choose for sure.
Yeah, I was, as soon as you sent me that photo, I was like, no way that they're actually gonna make that figure. It's a great design, very intriguing. I was not expecting that. I didn't really think we were gonna get anything like that from the Chucky series. I thought if they were gonna do anything, it would be from the actual films themselves. But I'm glad that they're doing something there. So that one I'm probably gonna pick up myself. They also have the one from Chucky 2, I think. Or no, I can't remember, the completely burnt one. I think it's from Chucky 2, but I don't know 100%. That one's an intriguing one, but this one with the melted half face is going to be really a nice pickup.
Absolutely. And then I'll get us into the screen share mode here so you can see this. Boom. So we got some headshots from the creature from the Black Lagoon there. The only thing that I'm not 100% certain on is if these are 3 alternative heads or if this is showing movement with the mouth. I believe the mouth is moving. Because it looks like if you look here, it looks like there's some pegs there.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like it frills inside. So it looks like we're going to have an adjustable mouth, which is really cool. But the detail on this thing looks absolutely fantastic.
The paint looks great.
Yeah, and then check this out. These are what they're coming with as far as some of the accessories. They haven't been produced just yet, but they are going to be bringing these along with them. So it is pretty cool to see. Obviously, it's the creature hand that they find that draws the people to the lagoon, and the classic spear gun there.
I love it.
So yeah, the 31 Nights of Fright is super fun. I love when NECA does this every year. We do have one more item that I wanted to highlight here that we didn't talk about from October 1st, but they did tease that we are also getting the Phantom from the Phantom of the Opera.
Nicely done.
Yes, looks beautiful. Looks like it's going to have some cloth to it. I believe this is going to be a part of the Ultimate line. I don't think it's going to be a part of the cloth line. I hope it's part of the Ultimate line. But yeah, no, I'm excited for this one. This is anything of these classic Universal monsters. I love them. I have all 3 of them right now in color, so I'm excited to see it. And the other thing that I thought was kind of neat was not much of a TMNT guy, but they've been doing these crossovers with TMNT and the Universal monsters. And I just thought this Casey Jones was pretty cool. It's a nice incorporation.
They look terrifying, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I do like these crossovers here. I think it's a lot of fun just to see the designs that they're coming up with. Am I going to own them? I really doubt it, but they're really fun to look at and fun to kind of see how they meld 2 different looks.
And I mean, they have just been teasing us with all kinds of stuff here. So here's from the Collector's Con, so we can kind of see what's coming. Obviously, we know about Dracula and the Invisible Man. This Creepshow figure is one that I cannot wait to be released to get my hands on. We have our Predators down here that are coming to us. Obviously Luke is a big collector of the Predator stuff, and just everything else in between here. They really just have a nice big selection coming to us in 2023 and end of 2022 here. Of course, those two new
Eventually,
terrors looking
we'll have to
wonderful.
do like an outlook of NECA 2023 whenever we have a moment to breathe.
Oh no, I think that would be a great idea, actually. Yeah. So, and then I'll mention it too, just because this just got dropped yesterday. But you can see that the Munsters are also coming from Rob Zombie's The Munsters, so we're getting some of that here.
Complete with negative Twitter comment section.
Very good, very good. But yeah, that's everything for that. So I just wanted to quickly highlight that on the Gorecast is just stuff that we're always looking forward to it. We love our NECA stuff. So to wrap it up here with our last two segments in the Gorecast, we have a couple of Blu-rays that did get announced this week. Not a very heavy week, but some cool stuff nonetheless. We were talking about it last week. The story of It got a UK release over there. We are getting one on November 22nd in the United States. So very cool. Awesome to see. It's got a variants floppable cover. It's coming from Screambox. So super cool. Definitely going to be something that I want to own and throw up on my shelf.
Yeah, as soon as you sent me over that saying that this was coming out, I was very excited. Again, great cover art. Again, on par with Scream Factory things. I'm excited to own this one as well. I don't know what the price on that's going to be, but it's definitely going to be a steal.
100%. And then it looks like something I wanted to highlight for you. I know you're a fan of the first film here. Return of Swamp Thing is coming to 4K. So I don't know how you feel about Return of Swamp Thing. I've never seen it. I've never even seen the original Swamp Thing. So it's one of those things where it's just like I put this on here primarily for you.
This is one of those things where when I turned to you and said, why are we getting Puppet Master on 4K? This is when we're off the rails. I think this is kind of adding to that as well. I'm not sure why we're getting Return of Swamp Thing on 4K. It's a very odd choice. It seems like whatever they can get the rights to, hey, let's make a 4K edition of it. But yeah, very odd choice. Am I going to own this? No. I would like a original Swamp Thing 4K if they would ever get around to that one, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Oh, yes. And looks like from Umbrella Entertainment, the guys who a few weeks ago showed us the Wrong Turn Blu-ray that was coming out. They're also releasing one for the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the same style with, all the poster cards and everything too. So that'll be a nice little release. If you don't already own the film, you'll get a lot of great fun content with that.
Is that 4K?
No, it's just regular Blu-ray.
Regular,
those are just regular Blu-rays. But I mean, they do come with a lot of great special features as well as, a lot of great bonus content as far as like little cards and patches and things. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, if you are a fan of it and you don't own it, I think this is a good addition to hop on, it looks like.
Yeah, all the bells and whistles really sell it. It's one of those things where if you don't have lobby cards or things like that, it's hard to say no to. So definitely intriguing. I think at this point, a lot of us own a lot of different versions of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but they make a strong case as to why not get this version. So I don't know. I'm probably not picking this one up, but I can see a lot of people biting the bullet and getting this one.
Oh yeah. And then lastly for Blu-ray releases, we did get announced that Pearl will be coming to Blu-ray on 11/8. No announcement of a 4K. Again, I assume that's going to come after Maxine releases. Unfortunately, I kind of hate that they've been doing that to us recently where, they'll release movies on Blu-ray for like a year and then the 4K will come out afterwards.
Yeah.
Just, it is what it is, but we'll see what happens. The only other side note with this is that there is going to be a Walmart exclusive edition with a different variant cover.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this one, again, I'm holding out for the 4Ks. Pearl is certainly something that you should be able to own in 4K just because of the visuals alone. So this one I'll be holding out hope for.
Oh, yeah. And then that's going to make us pop us into in theaters this week. So we already talked about a little bit at the top of the show. Big weeks here, guys. Everything that we've been waiting for is about to hit us. Halloween Ends is hitting theaters this Friday, October 14th. I've already got plans to see it in theaters twice, as well as I'm going to probably watch it on Peacock 3 or 4 times over the weekend. And we're going to talk the shit out of it. So, whether it's great, whether it's bad, whether it's anything in between, it is Halloween week, baby. So get ready for it.
Yep, I'm ready for it. I'm intrigued to see what's gonna go down in Haddonfield. How many people are gonna die? What the body count is gonna be? Is Michael walking out? Is Laurie walking out? Is no one walking out? So I'm intrigued to see where we're gonna go with this one. Good, bad, indifferent. Probably bad, but we will see how this trilogy for David Gordon Green ends.
I am right there with you. I was just checking on here to see if there was any special thing that I should bring up about that, but no, it's just still no confirmation on any kind of like alternative ending or anything. I think those have kind of subsided. But I would be surprised if Peacock drops it and there's just like, okay, here's the alternate ending for you guys, because
So,
they've been
by the
kind of
way,
teasing that, so we'll see.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Either way, it's Halloween week, and so that really is about to wrap it up here for the Gorecast. The only thing I can say is to keep an eye out for the channel. Again, we have a lot of great content coming to you this weekend, or this week. Everything from a new episode of Splattercast all the way to another episode of Better Off Dead, which if you haven't checked that out, we released our Leprechaun 4 was the first episode on that one. Yeah, so this one is, if you're keeping up with the theme, it's going to be Halloween centric. I won't say which one, but yeah, we are going to be
Make your own
reviewing
assumptions.
one of the Halloween films for Better Off Dead. So keeping your eye out for that, as well as another episode of Chucky this week, of course, and then all the Halloween Ends goodness coming to you until we get right back here with the Sunday Scaries.
Yes, another busy week here. A lot of good stuff coming your way. Dylan, you want to give us our socials?
Yeah, so if that's going to wrap us up here today, we're going to be talking pretty much just where you can follow us, where you can find us. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. That's where we keep up with you guys on anything that we're talking about, horror news, horror reveals, or just general conversations. Instagram for out of the theater reactions and other video content I usually like to throw up on there. And of course, TikTok, where that's mostly, again, out of the theater reactions. But as well, we're going to kind of we're still navigating that portion of it. We're going to kind of figure out what we want to do with that. But we're getting there. So you can follow us all at SplattercastPod on all 3 of those platforms. And yeah, other than that, like I said, we are in the midst of Splatterthon, where if you do click that link in the description, you can win yourself a Splatterthon mug as well as a copy of the Black Phone on Blu-ray. So lots of fun there. We're hoping that we'll get more entries. We only have 1 at this point. So if you guys just want to give it to him, then that's fine. He's a nice dude. So we'll see what happens. But I'm trying to encourage you guys to enter. Because we're just giving shit away here. Like, what do you have to lose?
Exactly.
But yeah, obviously, do as you please. But if you also feel like we deserve it, you like the content we've been putting out for you guys here, and you have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button so that way you can keep up with us and see us grow, and also get lots of great stuff coming to you in the future. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for me here. So, Luke, you got anything for the folks?
Oh boy, just stay tuned. We covered a lot of horror news today. Still a lot more that will, I'm sure, be released this coming week. So stick with us as we try to get all that content and even more out to you all throughout the week. Like Dylan said, Halloween Ends coming up. Big tentpole film for us. We've been waiting for the ending of the saga for a while. So we will give all the coverage. All our thoughts here on the channel. Another big week, another run in the marathon here. We are in Halloween full effect. No signs of slowing, so stick with us here on the channel. But until then, I'm Luke Janesco.
And I am Dylan Newell.
And friends, stay scared.